Welcome, Daniel. Nelly, please let Daniel in.
Can you hear me, please?
Abdurrahman, we're going live.
Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Abdurrahman, we are going live.
Thank you.
All right, so thank you very much, everyone. I hope we are audible. All right. It's a beautiful Saturday from Lagos, Nigeria. We are glad to welcome everyone to this particular event and conversation. It promises to be an insightful one, and We are hoping that everyone is able to join from our platforms. We are live on Instagram, we are live on Facebook, and we are live on X, formerly Twitter. And to kickstart the conversations, we are going to be having one of our very valuable resource persons to set the tone for us. The conversation today, as we are all aware, is largely around what is what we consider a burning issue, a burning requirement for enterprises and for organizations, and indeed for the individuals that are responsible for keeping, the organization safe, and that is largely around breaches, cybersecurity, and protection. And today we're going to be having conversations. We're going to be having enlightening sessions on three segments of this cybersecurity concerns. One is going to be on the user part. Second one is going to be on the infrastructure part, with particular focus on cloud. And then the last part is going to be on what we have in between, which is the bridge. And to set the stone for this conversation, we are going to yield the floor to Dexter Jibo, who is going to take us to a brief on what these particular segments means, and then why we should be considering in the first instance. So join me as I make welcome Dexter Jibo. Dexter, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Totally. Please let me know when you can see my screen.
Not yet. Your screen is not live yet.
Okay, I'm sharing. I think someone needs to move it to the main stage from your side.
Yes, I'm sure the administrators will do that.
Okay, please let me know once it's visible for everyone. Is it up yet?
Yes. Please go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for making out time to join this live session. My name is Dexter Nojigo, and I'm a solutions engineer at Cisco. So today we're here to talk about security. All right. So basically, how do you secure all the facets of enterprise? That's from your users, your cloud, and how to protect against breaches. So the first thing I would say is, and this is a very brazen statement, security innovation is patchwork. What do I mean by that? Every time there is a new threat, right, whether it's spam, a security company is born. If there's lateral movement, a security company is born, which has led to the current landscape today, where there are about 3,500 different security vendors, all covering different, basically, areas of protection. The average organization has anywhere between 50 to 70 security tools. The problem with these tools is each of them has their own dashboards, each of them has their own policy engines, each of them has their own control planes, right? This leads to a fragmented approach to security where you have multiple tools, but there is limited correlation, right? And between the data you're getting from all these tools. So what that means is that security operations are complex, your it's harder to detect breaches, it's harder to detect threats, and there is just an overall mess in terms of how you manage your operations. This has even been more exacerbated in the journey towards cloud, right? Because cloud is the new normal. Everybody has one form of resource somewhere sitting in that Azure, AWS, Google Cloud, or your own private data center, right? What this means now is going from the olden days where you had only your own data center, you now have basically 4 data centers that you need to manage and administer. What that also means is that you also now have 4 different platforms that see security differently, right? So definitely you need to ensure your security policy is consistent across all these clouds, which is a very, very big challenge for customers today. So how does Cisco come in here, right? So Cisco comes in by introducing a layer what we call Cisco Security Cloud. So basically, it controls how your data moves between all the different clouds, right? So what it does is that it acts as a broker, right, and forwards data where it's supposed to go to, whether from on-prem to cloud, cloud to on-prem, users to on-prem, users to cloud, in a secure and efficient manner. How do we do that? Basically, we do that by having a single centralized console, right, which controls your access to either internet applications, traditional applications, SaaS applications, private applications. So your data is protected. Obviously, it's stopping any form of malware or attacks. You have a single unified security policy consistent across all your tools and all your clouds, and are able to do digital experience monitoring for all your users to ensure that you have seamless application access. So we do this in three ways, which we have three suites to our securities cloud solution. There's the user protection suite, there's the cloud protection suite, and there's the breach protection suite. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dive into each of these suites and just tell you briefly what we cover in each of them. So let's start from the user protection suite, right? So I'm going to start with an analogy, right? Which is when you go to fetch water from a dispenser, you don't think about the kind of piping that's used within that dispenser. You don't care whether it's a PVC pipe, a copper pipe, an iron pipe, or a steel pipe. All you expect is when you press the spigot, water comes out. It's the same thing for a user. You have multiple applications scattered across multiple clouds, multiple platforms. You don't want to think about how you're accessing them, right? For example, you're working from home, you want to access a private app in the data center, right? Typically, you use VPN. If you want to just browse the internet, you don't need to connect to VPN. For a private application that's sitting in the cloud somewhere, you might want to use, okay, zero trust network access. As a user, this should be transparent to me, right? You don't want to think about the modalities of how you're connecting to each of these apps, right? And this is a real problem for organizations today. This is where Cisco comes in with our Cisco User Protection Suite, and it's literally the most boring demo in the world. It just consists of two steps. Step one, you authenticate, and step two, you go to work. Cisco handles all the plumbing in between and gives you transparent access, right, to those applications. So it protects you if you are going to access an app in the data center or a private app or a cloud app. Cisco does all the brokering in between and gives you seamless, safe access to those applications. So take, for example, before everything was sitting in the data center, right? And you typically used to connect to VPN. Now the applications are moving towards the cloud, are moving from a VPN boundary-like access towards zero trust access. So it doesn't matter where things are sitting, you want to safely access them via least privilege access, right? So this is a journey for a lot of organizations. You gradually move your applications or how you access your applications, and then Cisco provides you with seamless, safe, secure access, right, with no change in experience. So it doesn't matter whether you're a salesperson or you're a dev, you get secure access to each of your applications wherever they are. Your custom applications can still remain in your data center, and that's fine. So it works in this way, right? So typically when you're on the corporate network, obviously you're going to be authenticated and you can then access your applications, right? Whether it's Salesforce, Workday, whatever. The key thing is when you move to another application, right? Because you've already been authenticated, you don't require re-authentication. You're still having protected access to applications wherever they are. So take, for example, you leave the office. You then go to maybe a cafe to work, or you're presenting at the customer event or something, and you're working from home, right? And you're required to connect to a different network. Cisco would still re-authenticate you to ensure that, yes, your user is safe and you're having secure access, right, to any application you wish. So how do we ensure great user experience, right? So typically this is a cloud delivered service, and we have multiple data centers around the world. So that's very robust and fault tolerant, right? You ensure that you meet all your latency requirements and is built on industry leading protocols. The other good thing we did was integrating our ThousandEyes solution into the user protection suite, right? So ThousandEyes is an end-to-end visibility solution that gives you basically full view or full visibility into how users access applications. So right from the client's endpoint or desktop, right, you can see across the Wi-Fi, the ISPs, even you can see within your network, outside of your network to the ISPs, right up to the application where it's sitting in the cloud. That way you have full visibility and can easily troubleshoot and pinpoint where issues are. So the user protection suite basically gives you everything that you need to protect how users access applications, things like endpoint security, posture management, email security, experience insights, remote browser isolation, and secure service edge. The next stop is cloud protection. So today, right, we see a lot of people migrating to the cloud, right, and they do a lot of hybrid. So they have basically workloads still sitting in their private data center, and they also have things sitting in the cloud, maybe AWS or Azure, right? And we see scenarios where resources in the cloud have to communicate with the on-prem resources in your data center, right? So take, for example, there's a marketing app. So how is that done today? So typically you just punch a hole in the firewall, right? And you access whatever application that you need, typically maybe a customer database. Now, the risk with that is you don't just access that customer database, you access everything. So there is no least privilege access. So this model opens you up to security risks, opens you up to breaches. And why do you think this happens? The fundamental reason is on-prem and cloud speak different languages. So typically your firewall speaks the language of IP addresses. Meanwhile, the cloud applications, most of their infrastructure speak the language of services, right? They don't typically operate on IP levels. So you have to be having two different languages having to communicate with one another. The good thing is that Cisco speaks both of these languages. We can translate the IPs to services such that you then have least privilege access between your cloud and your on-prem data center, such that you have zero trust boundaries, right? So you access only what you need to access between your cloud and your on-prem, right? And the perfect thing or the great thing about this is that this persists across multiple clouds. So you configure once, if you move those resources from AWS to Azure, your policy stays the same. So how do we do this, right? We also have an AI policy assistant that helps you formulate these policies, right? Because not everyone is an Azure expert, or if you're an Azure expert, you might not be an AWS expert, but your security policy should ideally remain the same. I want to do this. This is my business requirement. Our AI policy assistant helps you to translate those policies, right, from business logic into configuration that then reduces the overall security policy complexity and then optimizes for efficiency. So a cloud protection suite, the jewel is the multi-cloud defense, which I spoke about earlier, right? That does the least privilege access between your clouds, right? We also have workload security, vulnerability management, attack surface management, and application security. So this is how you basically protect your cloud access. Next thing we're going to talk about is the breach protection. So typically, let's think about the anatomy of an attack. Basically, most times it starts with email because email is the most common threat vector, right? You click an email link, right? It takes you through, it downloads maybe a malicious software to your hardware, executes a process, propagates to the network, and then reaches your internal resources, right? And then you've been attacked by a ransomware, right? We see a lot of organizations today have individual point security solutions for most of these domains. But the problem with that is there is no shared telemetry. There is no shared insights between each of these individual solutions, right? And that's where we came up with our breach protection solution, right, which is called Cisco XDR, which has the most broad telemetry, right? So what it does is that it aggregates telemetry from multiple security solutions, whether they are Cisco or non-Cisco, right? Centralizes them in the warehouse and performs analytics on them, right? Such that you can then use that to broaden your security posture, right? So how do we do this? XDR is followed by Cisco Talos, right? Which is basically the world's largest threat research organization. So every day, Talos sees over 550 billion security events, right? So we take these events, run it through our AI-powered algorithms, and use the intelligence gained from these to feed our entire Cisco security portfolio. So this way, for example, let's say you're taken by an attack, right? And we see there's a malicious connection that's attempting to access your application. What we do, based on insights that we get from XDR as well, is that we take a snapshot of all your applications, right? And basically, you have a good snapshot or a snapshot of a good state where a breach hasn't been detected yet, right? And we see, okay, once a connection is made and your application is infected, the good thing is you already have a snapshot of your applications or your resources. That is good, has not been compromised. So this way there is zero RPO. This way you are protected against ransomware. You're also protected against breaches, right, that happen in your environment, such that you have zero downtime and you don't have to be free for basically the malicious attackers. So we also have a SOC AI assistant, right? Basically, this summarizes incidents across domains, right? It's basically built into our XDR platform. So it basically optimizes remediation tactics, basically all the telemetry you get from most of the security solutions, right? It feeds into that and gives you remediation tactics and basically summarizes incidents. Protection suite consists of our XDR solution and obviously ransomware together, basically helping you protect against breaches in environments. So this is security that only Cisco can deliver because of our breadth of experience in the industry, right? So we protect for the users, we protect the cloud, we protect against breaches, and everything is tied together in a single console, security posture, and then protect your users. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dexter. Thank you very much. That was such an insightful one and a lot of depth. And I was happy when I heard you highlight quite a number of areas where Cisco uh, played a very, very significant role. I mean, areas where Cisco has distinct functionalities. I mean, because good enough for us on this call, we are largely also very familiar with Cisco solutions and maybe expert in our own domain. So we'll move straight right now to the second part of the program, which is the conversation part. We'll be taking quite a number of questions, diving into what you have, the tone that you already set for us, the flow that you've already set for us. And for these conversations, I have a number of panelists on the call. I've got Joya Abdurrahman, who is a CCIE in about 4 different, or I think about 5 now, different architectures, well experienced both in Nigeria, Middle East, and the United States. I also have Fred Adigaya on the call. Fred has decades of years of experience in cybersecurity. I have Daniel also, who is also a CCIE and a CISSP, and then of course you, Dexter, will also be participating. So to go straight into the point, that's you have talked. I mean, you have talked us through what we should understand on what user security is. You've mentioned that is where we talked about the everybody's access to infrastructure or data as it might be, and that can be on-prem or in the cloud. We've also talked about cloud security. You highlighted the fact that a number of times these days, that is public cloud or private cloud, organizations even now grapple around data migration from different cloud positions. And of course, we talked about the different bits that can come into place. My first question really we go to Fred to say, I haven't listened to all of this, right? Talking from the user perspective now, right? Why do you think users should still be interested in this conversation? Why do you think they still need these? They should still take these user security serious? Why do you think it should be a concern? Over to your friend. Your mic is on mute. You might want to unmute yourself before you go ahead. You are still muted, Fred. You are muted. Fred, can you hear me at all? I hope everybody can hear me.
I
Fred,
can
you are muted.
myself.
Okay, you're fine now. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, I think it's the coordinator that muted me. User. The first question is, who is a user? A user is anyone or any system that have authorized access into information assets, or should I say our infrastructure. And why the question now is, why does no user need protection? Users are mainly the target of cyber attack. they are the primary factor that perpetrators use to, to gain access. And they expose the organization, user expose the organization to perpetrators that wants to attack us. And how do they do that? Users can click on an email, a dodgy email, can click or go to a difficult website or a honeypot where they can easily give out information about access to infrastructure. So that is why user needs protection. So like I said, a user could be an individual, a system that have authorized access. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so that answers my question around who is a user, right? But I want you to take it further, right, by telling us why user security should be paramount to an organization in this case, and why our listeners should place priority on user security, as Dexter has explained what it is here.
Yeah, like I as earlier said, at the target of cyber attack, they are the gateway into your infrastructure. And because they have authorized access and they have access to your data, irrespective of who they are. And in the olden day, like Daniel mentioned, where you have a VPN, once a user is authenticated and it's got into your infrastructure, if that user has been compromised, access to all the things you have in your infrastructure is exposed. And they can, like in the presentation, this and that. So that is why users are very important to be protected and to make sure that they are well educated, they are individuals, and if it's a system, that the system security postures are checked to make sure that the organization is not exposed through an authorized individual or system into our infrastructure. That is why, because it's like a door into your house. If you leave the door open, anybody can walk in. That is why user needs to be protected.
Great. I think I love the keyword. Great. I think I love the keyword that you used there, which is the fact that they are the gateway, right? They are the door to the organization. I mean, one of the industry giants released last year, 2023 data, to say the cost of breach in organizations were way above $4 million, and that about 51% of organizations are planning, right, in response to that, to increase their investment in security, right? And that the effect of extensive security, AI, and automation on financial impact on breach is also upward of $1.5 million, close to about $2 million. So for me, I think this highlights the fact that we have to place priority on user security. Now, in the same report, right, we got to know that 82% of breaches, it compromises, are involved on data stored in the cloud, right? So I'll go to you, Daniel, right? You are currently deploying your expertise with one of the biggest cloud service providers in the world, right? Walk us through it. Why should you? And I know Dexter has also mentioned to us that around the fact that organizations are fragmented too. Some of them are in the cloud, some of them are on-prem, right? And even those that have cloud, right? Some of them have 4 different cloud or multiple cloud platforms, and they have to grapple around moving data around these cloud platforms. With all of this, Daniel, give us more insight. Why, and all of the data that we have read out, why do you think organizations, and indeed the audience, which are mostly people who have interest in all of these conversations, why do you think they should still prioritize cloud protection?
Thank you, Rotimi, and good day to everyone. That's a very interesting question, and I want to take it back to the main reason why this is actually a conversation in the first place, which is revolving around business organizations. So everyone here knows businesses are mandated to basically make money for the shareholders, and that's the entire point why there's there's a huge rush towards the cloud. The fact that you could keep operating costs low, right? Why increase profit? And you can actually get to market faster. That's actually a point that organizations actually have to deal with. The fact here is that security is basically playing catch up, and like Dexter mentioned, this is basically just patchwork. Everyone is just patching something. Let's throw a firewall here. There's a phishing attack. Let's throw in an email security here. So basically, everyone is just like, okay, let's move on with this trend. And to actually make things more effective, it's better to take a step back and approach it holistically. Um, we you mentioned the data, and if you're very interesting data that I'm actually share more light into this is that about 56% increase in the use of SaaS application in 2023. So if you consider that, sorry, there's a feedback. I'm not sure if it's on me written me. So if you consider that, you see that organizations are moving to the cloud. It might be inevitable, but nobody's going to be buying extra servers. Nobody's going to be doing something just to launch an application or a product. They need to be agile. They need to move with the agility and the innovation that requires any business to be successful in this day and age. So going back to the question, cloud security. What's my thought on it? I actually think approaching it from a user perspective, or approaching it from getting access to the getting access to the right data, putting data in front of the user instead of taking security and taking it in front of the data is actually a way to address this entire requirement. What do I mean? What I mean is rather than start trying to put gates around the application, trying to put gates around the data that has been trying to be accessed, why don't you put a gate closer to the user? Why don't we leverage on the fact that you already have an existing program to enroll users into our organizations? Why don't we work with the identity team? Why don't we understand who these users are? Why don't we understand what they are authorized to access? And why don't we make it seamless for them to access this? So having that approach, it doesn't matter if it's a SaaS application, if it's a cloud application running in a compute engine. It doesn't matter if it's your HR application running in your servers on premise. That approach would basically give the security opportunity to rethink their approach to things. Allows them to be part of the conversation very early on, which allows them to actually drive programs that would basically change the organization and basically allow the organizations operate securely, make more profit, and also allow them navigate the rivers of regulatory compliance. So in all, I think having an holistic approach, which Texan have mentioned in his presentation, is actually a key requirement here recently. So that's my response.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Thank you very much. That's a very holistic response, and I think I'll be moving. Quickly now to Abdurrahman. Abdurrahman, we've talked about user protection. We've talked about cloud protection from the position of why there's need for it, right? So let's move straight to who needs it, right? Which organization needs it, right? Which role, responsibility owners within the organization should be very much interested in this, right? And why should they take it very serious? Over to you, Abdurrahman.
Well, yeah, thank you very much. To to track it back a little bit, I will kind of make an order of the enterprises that will need to take it more seriously and the ones that need to look at it. So there'll be some areas that needs to look at it with a sense of urgency. There will be some set of enterprises that needs to look into it as a roadmap. Now, when we talk about FSIs, financial system institutions, right? those falls into the urgency of the need for security, user security. They need to look at it with the immediate effect. They need to put it as a forefront because the FSIs are the main, whatever they are the main the target for user security, especially in the Africa space. In the Africa space and in the Africa space, Nigeria, Rwanda, Kenya, those are the hotspots of FSIs and those are the targets. Now, when we say FSIs, we are saying banks, we are saying financial payments, routing institutions. You guys are those enterprises have to make user security a priority. Now, when we say user security, like it's articulated, right? User security from a visibility standpoint to the user, and it's going to be borderless. That is what this is saying. So FSIs fall into the most critical categories of the people that need it. Another kind of segment that falls into the need for that are manufacturing agencies, manufacturing companies, manufacturing companies that do things on a large scale, right? From example, let's say example like maybe a flour mills, a Dangote, those kind of manufacturing companies need what do we call it, user securities as a sense of urgency. You need to pay a sense of urgency into it. Let's go to if we move a little bit to a little bit of the people that need to check a look at it from a roadmap perspective. We'll say SMEs that run financial applications that connects to FSIs. You guys are also in the threat landscape of payment or the wallet payments applications. You guys are on the threat landscape as well. The users are the target. Everybody knows there are defenses everywhere from outside legs. So your users are the social engineering. Those are the main things that you guys fall onto. So those are the areas that those segments where SMEs that you guys do. Let's say a revenue of about 100 million to 200 million. You guys are also doing a roadmap that you guys have to look at it because when this happens, the cost of loss is going to be in that amount. Now, also to speak to now take it from a general sense, any enterprise that have a critical asset, and you have inside users, you have your employed users accessing applications to make business function, you need to pay attention to user security. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, great, 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 great. I think I also want to. I like the fact that SMEs right now, um, SMEs right now consume quite a lot of resources in the cloud from the position of moving capex to opex and reducing the overhead cost largely. And we're talking about SMEs, we're talking about, small and medium enterprises in all business sectors, oil and gas, oil servicing firms, manufacturing, everybody really, right? And then the good thing also is that this also concerns them, right? And this approach, fits into all. It fits into small organizations. It fits into large organizations. I'm talking about the approach from using that is securing your organization from the user end, securing your organization from the infrastructure end. In this case, we're talking about cloud, and definitely the breaches that can happen in between. And I think one of the advantages that Dexter mentioned from the solutions from Cisco is the fact that you can have a single console, right, to administer and manage these solutions. I'm talking about if you have multiple environment, and I think this can also be a very big advantage really to SMEs, right? Because SMEs want to lower the cost also on administration. So instead of having multiple consoles that might also require multiple expertise and by extension multiple resources, right? You can have one resource trained, you can have one resource who's familiar with these single solutions and can approach it and in between. And let me also highlight the fact that please you can drop your questions on any of the platforms you are joining from. Please feel free to join to drop your questions there. we'll be taking questions and answers just after our conversation. All right. So moving forward, let me come back to you, Fred. Abdurrahman has done quite a lot of justice to who should be interested in this particular type of solutions that we're talking about, right? But I want you to highlight more, because he talked largely on the kind of environment, and I think I added to that, right? But I want you to highlight more on the specific roles in these organizations, who are the custodians, who are the responsibility owners, right? Who are going to be largely in charge. Because I'll tell you, right? One of the data that we have from very, very big industry experts is that say the average cost of I mean, there are some organizations that got attacked, right? And it took them more than 200 minutes, I mean, to locate this attack and to resolve it, right? So the average cost of those who took more than 200 minutes were way over $1 million, right? And those who took less than that. And, identifying these attacks, mitigating them is likely going to be, I mean, it's resting on the shoulders of some people within the organization, definitely not on everybody in the organization. So who are these people, right? And speak to it from your experience. You have in-depth experience in this. I mean, this has been your bread and butter for decades, right? So tell us who should be interested in this and why they should be interested within the organization. Thank you.
Yeah. Daniel did a good job on the company, segmenting them into different segments. But I want to generalize it and look at it from the user perspective. We all know that users are very vulnerable. So any organization that have either a system accessing their infrastructure and individual, especially individual, there's human vulnerability there. Any organization, again, that have an endpoint connecting to into their network. Now you don't even have to have it. AI will do it for you. People can create an AI as an endpoint to try and then get into your infrastructure. Any organization that their data and information now is power. Your data is your asset. Any organization that deals with data. For example, we all know about HIPAA, we all know about PCI, DSS, we all know about all these regulations. So any organization that needs to meet some compliance as well, we need this infrastructure, this security. Any organization that, unlike me, I can turn off my computer now and go away. But if you need continuity, if you want your organization to stay on 24/7, your 6 point to be available, you need this. Any organization that have a reputation to protect. Reputational damage. I work in the financial industry across Europe, and reputational damage has a long way. I don't know about a lot about Nigeria now being covered. No CISO will come to you and say, oh, we lost so billions of naira. But the situation is there. If you have a reputation, in the organization that I work for, emphasis is played on the use of protecting our reputation. Nobody will want to go and put their money in a bank that is not secure. So reputational damage, you need to look at that. Any organization that have intellectual properties to be protected. I'll give you a scenario. There was a time I was asked by one company, I won't use name, to go and see how we can encrypt the one access into one organization, because they believe that United States is doing espionage to steal their intellectual property and give it to their counterpart that is a US-based company. I now went into the organization, do my security and risk assessment, and now found out I just asked the question, where do you develop your software? He now said, oh, our development center is in India. I said, okay. This device you're asking us to install to protect your head office is going to cost you millions. Why would a CIA man, bother to crack 1 million project when they can travel to India, see one of your developer, give him equivalent of £5,000, collect a CD from him and fly back? So again, if you have intellectual property to protect, it is very important that you take your protection and breach security very seriously. Thank you.
All right, so thank you very much, Fred. You have provided a lot of in-depth, right, on organizations, right? But I want you to take it further, right, to the individuals, to the roles, to the role holders in those organizations who you think should be interested in this, especially from a preventive point of view, from preventing this, and most importantly, also to reacting. Who are the individual role holders in those organizations that should be interested?
I will use the framework of the ISO 27001, which is the global acceptable format for information security. Everybody is responsible. Everybody, including the user. But when it comes to accountability, those that are accountable to make sure that if these are in places are right from the board must make security part of the organization business. Secondly, it goes to the chief financial officer, down to the chief information security officer, down to individual information user. Now, there are different ways. You can either look at it from ISO point of view or the NIST. Firstly, to protect yourself, you have to first identify your key asset, your information asset. Okay, so all the way to the stakeholder. That means the stakeholder of that department. Is it marketing? Is it brokers? You know, who is in charge there? What are the critical information you want to protect? So you identify them. Then how do I protect this individual, this identified assets? Okay. Then you need to have infrastructure in place to detect if you've been compromised. And a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on detection. How do you know what has been taken away from you? It's not just detecting it. How do you know what has been taken away from you? Again, that goes into the IT security section, the SOCs, the Security Operations Center, the incident response team, to look at it and say, okay, what damage has been done? What has been stolen from us? Are they still here? Do you get my point? So these are some of the things that in terms of your question. And then how do you respond? You were mentioning about 200 minutes to respond. I love that presentation from Dexter, where a snapshot of your infrastructure is taken before an attack, and then how you recover. So these are the things, how you respond, how you recover. These are very important things. And then one of the things a lot of organizations move away from is the disaster recovery. With the advent of cloud, a lot of people do not know the importance of what they are subscribing to, their subscription on the cloud infrastructure. It is very important that you have a cloud infrastructure where your data is backed up and where you can recover easily if there has been a breach on your subscription through your user. The infrastructure might protect you, but you are responsible for who access your infrastructure. And who access your infrastructure is being targeted. And if that person is being compromised or being social engineered and they've got assets, how do you protect yourself? And then you go, virus. So these are, and ransomware, these are areas I don't want to say too much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Fred. That was already a whole lot, right? That was already a whole lot. It's always very interesting and always a useful time tapping from experiences, right? I mean, this is one of the benefits of conversations like this, and that is why it's a little bit different from classroom lectures, right? Because people are able to speak not only from their technical expertise, but largely also from their experiences. Thank you very much, Fred. I think I'll go. I mean, we are pressed of time, unfortunately. So I'll go straight to Dexter right now. I'll go back to Dexter, right? I mean, you started this conversation with us, and you made very great presentation, in-depth presentation. I want to comment on these principles, right, and Cisco's approach to addressing these principles. So take the next 5 minutes or thereabout to take us through, the success stories that Cisco has recorded in the industry which, I mean, it can be global, but we also appreciate specific case points, I mean, in our region. Over to you, Dexter.
Yes, thank you, Rotimi. Thank you for that presentation. So I'm just going to share my screen, right? And please let me know when you can see it when it's up. So first of all, you have to ask yourself, why do customers trust Cisco? So we are the largest networking company in the world. We have the deepest and broadest depth of experience, right? Cisco was established in 1985, and we basically 85% of the world's internet traffic runs through Cisco devices. So we have the depth, we have the insight into how networks operate. Most of the networking technologies were developed by Cisco, actually. So that's why customers tend to know like the depth of our innovation, the depth of our products, the strength of our products, right? So I'll just quickly talk through some of our wins across the globe, right? Across multiple verticals, whether it's financial services, hospitality, education, manufacturing, name it, public sector as well, right? So I'll just quickly go over 8 use cases globally, and then I'll come to where we have shown in Nigeria, basically. So can you see my screen?
Yes, please go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you. So this customer is Czech Railways, which is obviously a public sector company, right? Which is obviously a public sector in the Czech Republic, right? So they've been a long time Cisco customer, and they were pretty much concerned with malware, right? So we obviously won $470,000 worth of firewalls, right? Another interesting one is IRS, Department of Inland Revenue Service in the United States. So they are basically the equivalent of Nigeria's FIRS, which is basically taxation and internal revenue, right? So imagine how big that is for the entire US, which is basically the global economic center of the world, right? They decided to trust Cisco security, right, in a whole portfolio agreement, which means every single Cisco security solution that we have is being deployed in the IRS. Firewalls, user protection, cloud protection, breach protection, everything is there as part of a whole portfolio agreement, which was about $300 million. You can imagine the size of that, right? And imagine the competition, because there are other very strong security vendors out there, right? We have a manufacturing company, right, in the US as well. Basically, they make cosmetics, right? So they also were interested in our firewalls. We have sports, right? So this is Wimbledon. I don't know how many of you watch tennis here. So one of the 4 majors in the year, right? Wimbledon, that's held every year in the UK, right? Even those people, like, which is a broadcasting and sports company, right? They also have requirements for security, right? They need the users to be protected. The guests and the tourists who come to watch the tennis matches, obviously, they need to have Wi-Fi. So you need to protect them, protect your internal users, right? Protect the media streaming, because you are streaming media across the entire globe, right? We also had the deal where they talked about even Cisco's XDR portfolio, right? Which is a key component of the breach protection suite that we talked about. They also got other Cisco security like firewall, identity services, network analytics, right? Another interesting one in manufacturing was in Japan, which is Toshiba. So you know Toshiba, they make cars, electronics, so many things, right? They also got our user protection suite, which is our secure access, right? And things like Duo, which is for MFA, VPN, firewalls as well, right? So you can see all of this is publicly available, and I'll probably share the links afterwards, right? So it's basically driven by their need for zero trust, right? We also have one of the cloud providers, which is Tata Consulting, right? So what they do is they host infrastructure as service offering for multiple clients, right? So they also use basically host on multiple cloud platforms. So this was for the cloud protection suite, right? Because they host their services on AWS, Azure, GCP, right? So they needed that security that transits across all the clouds, right? So this was a very recent one, right? And you can see here, obviously the need for business need, which is very important, which was the consistency for segmentation and security policies across multiple cloud platforms, right? We also have an interesting one, which is obviously Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland. So this is medical, right, or healthcare, right? So you can see how Cisco wins in security across multiple verticals, whether it's healthcare, hospitality, hotels, manufacturing, obviously enterprise customers, IoT customers, FSI specifically, right? So these are just some of the global success stories where Cisco is actually beating out the competition due to the depth and strength of our solutions. Now, coming in locally here, right? We also have a huge number of success stories within the FSI industry. So I can proudly tell you that 90% of the 100% of the banks in Nigeria have some form of Cisco security, one or another. So we have organizations, obviously, due to the fact that they've not authorized us to share, right? Some of them have almost all the Cisco security solutions. Some of them have some of them. And basically, we protect them. We work with them closely to help them with their roadmap in terms of their security journey, to help them get to that level where they are comfortable against breaches, comfortable with protecting their users, and obviously excelling in their business, because security is a driver for your business. So thank you, and back to you, Rotimi.
Thank you very much, Dexter. Thank you very much, Dexter. Those are great success stories right there. And as Cisco partner, or also Manifold Computers, I mean, we are proud, of the work, the great work that Cisco is doing. I mean, of course, we have also been in the industry for, well over 2 decades, and we are proud to be associated with Cisco as one of your top partners. And from our experience also, we can, evidently say that, these are cross-functional solutions in different business sectors. So guys, please feel free to, drop your questions. This is the Q&A part. I think we have 2 questions already. Somebody was asking, what about IOCs? Can you shed more light on IOCs? IOCs are international oil companies. So I'll push that back to Fred. Fred, I know you talked largely around financial services, right? But one of our listeners is saying, I'm not in financial services. I'm in the oil and gas services, oil and gas industry, right? Am I left out? What do you say to that?
Right. No. In fact, because of reputational damage, and the intellectual properties. Okay, you see, I was with BP. I was seconded to BP some years back as a security engineer, and one of the areas they are more concerned about is their competitors finding where they've discovered a new exploration, where a new exploration is. And during some of our conversation, we found out that, I don't know if you heard about all these piping, flexible pipe, whereby you are given an area for oil exploration, but you find out that there is a deposit somewhere far away from outside your geographical area. So what a lot of oil government are now doing is sending pipes under the ground, across under the sea, to go to other people's oil well and to be, exploring there. So, and it is very key. And a lot of security products were introduced, which is an oil deep sea information gathering. They are kind of artificial and robotic intelligence that goes in and mapped out any activities within their geographical location. So oil companies are not left out. You need all this information. You want to protect your reputation. We all know about the oil spill issues that we're having in the sub-Saharan Africa regarding oil companies, Shell, Texaco, Mobiles, Chevron. So a lot of information about oil stealing as well is protected. And they want to protect their weaknesses. You know about all the lawsuit. So a lot of things they discover ahead, and these are information they want to protect because of reputational damage as well. Okay, so you are not left out. Security is key.
All right, thank you very much, Fred.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Fred. Thank you very much. I think that was great insight. But just to add some few more words to that, right? From the position of compromise, there's no segmentation. Either you are an IOC or you are an LOC or you are a manufacturer, or you are in the financial services sector, or you are in the capital market, or you are in the entertainment industry, wherever you are, whoever you are, from the angle of compromise, you are not left out. When ransomware goes out, I mean, it's usually almost the same tactics that goes out, right? When malware goes out, I mean, it's usually almost the same tactics where you click on the link and then your data exploitation starts, right? So I think from the position of breaches and from the position of concern on breaches, everybody needs to be, to be at alert, and everybody needs to guard against all of this. Anybody needs to put in preventive measures, and most importantly, also we also need to put in measures that allows us to respond. I wrote in data the other time of organizations that are able to respond and stop attacks within 200 minutes, and organizations that exceed that, and the difference between them in terms of losses is way above $1 million, which is very significant. We're talking about 1.6 to 1.7 billion naira in Nigeria rate. So this can be very, very significant, right? And the prevention here is always cheaper and always better than the reaction. And this cuts across all organizations. Now, from the position of putting in solutions, right, to prevent, to mitigate, or for the position of putting in solutions to respond in the case of eventual breach. Now, the approaches, can differ or will differ from your business sector, your core business type, to also your size, right? And to also the structure of your environment, right? Are you a single? Are you an SME with few users and all your infrastructure in the public cloud, or are you an organization that have an hybrid cloud environment where you have on-prem and public cloud environment? Are you an organization that focuses largely on private cloud, but you have multiple platforms or multiple data centers, which is usual, right? You want to have your production data center in a region, and you want to have your disaster recovery data center in another region, and you have data traversing, these two data centers. So the approach, right, will be different. And that is where Manifold comes in, right? Feel free to talk to us. We will be very, very much glad to sit down with you, look at your unique requirements, right? And then advise you, give you some consultation on what we think is best in form of approach, and what we think, is going to be cheaper for you in form of budget and result. So guys, let me take this time to, I think we are wrapping up. I think we've taken, the two questions that we have. Let me take this time to appreciate everybody that, that joined on this call. As we are speaking right now, we have about, close to about 200, listeners, on different platforms. I want to appreciate our co-sponsor for this particular event, which is, Cisco Systems. Cisco is, an industry giant when it comes to network and then security and data center, by the way, right? And then to my colleagues at Manifold Computer that have, helped to put this together, I also say, I give you a big thumbs up. And to our esteemed panelists, the very, very, the industry giant that we have in the house, we have Fred. Fred, thank you very much for coming on this call. Your insights, your experience, your knowledge, has been shared here and is well appreciated. Abdurrahman, thank you for coming on this call. We are happy that we're able to tap from your deep expertise. And of course, Daniel, we are very grateful. Thank you for coming on this call. Thank you for letting out what you have in you. Thank you for taking time to give what you offer what you have to the organization, to everybody that's listening to us. And back to our able presenter and information source, there's no Jigo. Thank you very much. And then please express our appreciation to the team, entire team that you are representing from Cisco. So thank you very much, guys. We'll be sending out some notifications to get your feedback on what you think that we have done good and how we can improve this. Definitely, this is not the last time you're going to be hearing from Manifold Computers. At intervals, we're going to be hosting very, very informative and educating sessions like this, and it's going to be free for everybody to join. So thank you very much for coming. Cheers till the next time. Bye.
Before we go, there's a question. Do you do other things other than security? I think.
Yeah. Okay. So that's great. For Manifold Computers, yes, we do quite a whole lot of things. I mean, we focus largely on communication and connectivity infrastructure. We focus largely on data infrastructure. Of course, cybersecurity is our pillar. And then we also do quite a lot around business automation and application services. Please feel free to check our website, manifoldcomputers.com, and then feel free to also fill in the contact us form should you require more information. And you can also take a moment after this my conversation. You can also take a moment to listen to our reel, which gives a little bit of insight. A very short reel, like less than 5 minutes or thereabout, which gives a lot of insight into who we are and what we do. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.